All right, welcome back, everybody. We have video number 2 for you today. This one is on the American Empire during the Progressive Era from 1898 until 1917. All right, so the U.S. was colonizing territory throughout the world in the early part of the 20th century, and we need to figure out what are some of the ways the U.S. gained territory during this time, and there are 3 major ways that they did so.
All right, so the 3 ways we need to know first are annexation, war, and purchase. And Mr. Norris, do you want to explain to us a little bit what annexation is?
Yeah, annexation is basically when a country says, you know what, this area of land, it now belongs to us. And the U.S. has done that before when it comes to Texas and also Hawaii. They basically took a piece of land and said, this is now a part of the United States. So, Mr. Norris, which do you think would be most popular out of annexation, war, or purchase?
Well, I'm going to make a guess here that annexation would probably be the most popular just because it's nonviolent and it's kind of both countries getting what they want. So annexation, I would say, is pretty popular. But which one do you think happens the most?
War probably happens the most. We learn a lot about wars in U.S. and world history.
Yeah, absolutely. So war tends to become the most prevalent way that countries are able to gain more land. We know of the most famous purchase in American history, probably the most significant event of the earlier time periods we've studied. What purchase would you say?
Absolutely, that's the Gadsden Purchase.
Oh, nice try. But I was going to think Louisiana because it doubled the size of the United States, right?
And what did it do to Thomas Jefferson's interpretation of the Constitution?
Well, I think it started to change. He goes from a very strict interpretation to a little bit more loose in order to try and do something that would benefit the country.
For sure. Okay, so let's take a look at different territories that the U.S. acquired during this time. We'll notice there's a lot in 1898. So the U.S. was very busy in the late 19th century. So in 1898, we have Hawaii, the 50th state in the country, and this was annexed or taken after an 1893 revolution. And Hawaii was very important because it was located in the Pacific, and this was a stopping point for the U.S. on their travels to Asia.
In 1898, the United States will also take control of Puerto Rico. It'll be gained through conflict with Spain. We'll talk more about the Spanish-American War. So Puerto Rico is still part of the United States today, not an official state, but more of a protectorate. So we'll talk more about the gaining and really why the United States will want to control Puerto Rico.
At the same time, the United States also gained Guam, which is located in the Pacific and is a military base today for the United States. So the U.S. gained Puerto Rico in the Caribbean and also Guam in Asia, as well as this area in Asia too,
known as the Philippines. So again, as a result of the Spanish-American War, we'll study Philippines will come under the control of the United States in Asia, will play a very important role in the American development of our power in places like the Pacific.
And continuing with the Pacific, we have American Samoa, which the U.S. gained in 1899 after signing a treaty with Great Britain.
In 1903, we'll see a treaty signed with Panama in order to create the Panama Canal Zone under Teddy Roosevelt. We'll again talk about how this will be so important to help the growth of the American economy as well as American defense.
Absolutely. It cannot be overstated how important that was. And in 1917, the U.S. acquired the Virgin Islands in a purchase from Denmark. So this is also in the Caribbean. So we have Caribbean, Asia, Caribbean, Asia. Those are the 2 areas that the United States is acquiring land during this time. So, Mr. Lawrence, now that we've acquired all this area of land, the question is, how does the Constitution apply to these newly acquired areas of land?
All right, so 2 things we have to be aware of are the Jones Act and also the Platt Amendment. So the question really becomes, how will the Constitution be applied in these newly acquired areas? So the Jones Act will give the Philippines its independence in 1946, which we'll talk more about after World War II. And also after a revolution in Cuba, we'll see something called the Platt Amendment.
Yeah, and this issue actually goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and they will say that the Constitution will apply to the territories in various ways. That the people living there do not necessarily get the same rights as American citizens, especially, as you just mentioned, Mr. Lawrence, the Platt Amendment in Cuba. We'll talk a lot about that. So the 3 parts of the Platt Amendment in Cuba, the U.S. is essentially like the U.S. has to approve all treaties between Cuba and other nations. The U.S. also could set up naval bases in Cuba, and they do so at Guantanamo Bay, which the United States still has control of today. Now, going back to the Supreme Court ruling that the Constitution would apply in various ways in these territories, the U.S. currently has a lot of suspected terrorists that are held in Guantanamo Bay, and they are not allowed to have the same exact rights as U.S. citizens have. And finally, the third part of the Platt Amendment is that the U.S. could intervene to secure peace in Cuba if necessary, if things get out of control. All right, so we've examined a bunch of new territories gained by the United States during this time. Please flip in your packets to answer the question that relates to page number 4 in a minimum of 2 to 3 sentences, and we will see you right back here for video 3. Have a good day.